I'm here with the founding co-director of the USC Center for Artificial Intelligence in Society, or CAIS as we call it. He is an associate professor and an expert on community outreach, network science, and the use of social networking technology, particularly in the area of high-risk youth. But today, he's going to enlighten us about research he's doing within 3 branches of the military and on how artificial intelligence can be used to predict suicide among service members, as well as veterans. This is a growing issue and one with heartbreaking statistics and consequences. I'm excited to delve into this discussion with my colleague, Dr. Eric Rice, who has great hair.
Well, thank you. So do you. Not as good as your hair. Your hair is much better.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
This is awesome. So please tell us about the benefits of incorporating artificial intelligence. It's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Right?
So
into the work of social work. And
yeah.
research.
So I mean, I'm really excited about the work that we're doing around social work with artificial intelligence. I mean, this is something that we've been doing for about 5 years now. I've been doing work, with folks at the Viterbi School of Engineering, especially Milan Tambe. So Milan Tambe and I started the Center for Artificial Intelligence in Society in early, I guess it was late 2016, so about 3 years ago. And we really built the center originally out of a set of projects that we were doing with homeless youth. And so the project that you reference now around suicide prevention is actually something that is more of a recent project of ours, but we've been working on what we think of as major social problems, right? So homelessness, suicide prevention, substance abuse issues. We're really interested, things within the foster care system. So we're trying to really address how we can use some of these new technologies, both in terms of predictive models and also then in terms of designing algorithms that help us make smarter decisions so that we can really try to help people with issues that are really challenging. We're talking about the way that we think that algorithms can be used to help design interventions. So the idea is that, if these problems were easy to solve, right? If homelessness and suicide prevention, I mean, if these were easy problems, we'd have solutions for them, right? But they're not. And so the issue is not that AI is going to be a silver bullet, but really more that there are new opportunities to do things different and to try to add to our arsenal of solutions. And what's really exciting to me is that social work has always had this great engagement with communities who are in need, right? And we've always been about practical solving of problems, right? And what's cool about engineers is that they're also very practical scientists. They really want to solve problems, right? Right? And so it's even though it sounds a little bit weird to say that you've got a bunch of computer scientists and social workers working together, in some ways, if you think about more social workers and engineers as both problem-solving professions, then these are people who actually work very well together. And so with suicide prevention, I think one of the issues that we're really interested in is that people in the military, there's different moments of transition that are very difficult for folks. And the big moments of transition tend to be around when you first join the military. There's actually a big uptick in suicide rates, primarily because people are leaving their families and they're going away from home into a very stressful thing.
So there's an upcharge.
There's an upcharge in suicides in the first year that people are in the service.
And they're boys oftentimes too.
Oh, they're 18, young.
Yeah,
exactly.
And they don't know what they're getting into.
Right. So Carl Castro, who's another faculty member here, who does a lot of work around the military and
he does too.
Yeah, exactly. And around transitions and the stresses of transitions. They really talk about when you join the military, when you come back from combat, and when you leave and become a veteran. These are the moments that are most stressful for people, and that's where you see the big rises in suicides.
Absolutely.
And so what we're working on really is with that middle group. So we're trying to think about when people come back from deployments and they've experienced a lot of traumatic events while they're overseas, trying to understand if we can make some better predictions about who's going to be at highest risk for suicidal thinking, so that we can design some good old-fashioned social work interventions to put in front of those people. So
you answer that question. So you take the algorithm and then you pair them with the social work to provide the best evidence-based practice treatment plan.
Exactly.
Informed by.
Exactly. Informed by these algorithms. And so the idea is not that the AI replaces a person. So we're not talking about some sort of science fiction chatbot, right? Where it's like you're going to have a therapist and it's going to be a computer. No, it's the idea.
How do you feel now? How does this make you feel?
Exactly.
Right.
Yes. The Terminator is going to ask you how you're feeling, right? And then
His son went here, so yeah.
And then he's going to shoot you dead or something terrible. No. The idea is can you use right. No, we want to prevent people from dying. This is the point of the algorithm, right?
Yeah.
So the idea is really, can we use some AI stuff to help us do some data mining to identify people who might be at risk, and then use some evidence-based practices from social work. So one of the projects that we've done that's like this, that we've had a lot of success with, that's a bit more further down the road, has been around HIV prevention. So I like to talk about the program that we've designed. The AI part of it is kind of like Google Maps. So if you think about, with Google Maps, you've got a lot of messy traffic and these big networks of these cities, and there's a lot of information about what's happening in traffic and what might happen, and it's trying to predict for you the best path to get from where you are to where you want to be, right? Okay. But there's a lot of noise and uncertainty. So with the HIV prevention program that we're doing with homeless youth, instead of traffic networks, we're talking about people's social networks and trying to navigate people's social networks. And we're trying to figure out which young people we want to work with as social workers to become peer advocates who are going to teach their friends about sexual health information. And so the algorithm doesn't do the social work for us. The algorithm helps us pick which young people we might want to work with. And what's so cool about it is that the young people that the algorithm picks are sometimes unexpected, right? So instead of, so there's sometimes some young people that are not so connected to the agency staff that we work with. So they wouldn't be the first folks that people, when you're sort of the boots on the ground social worker who's working with homeless youth, you wouldn't say, oh, this guy who kind of keeps to himself with his friends over there in that corner who doesn't really talk to we case managers too much. We need him. But the algorithm, because it's really just interested in mining these social networks, it says, oh, that guy, though he doesn't really interact with the staff very much, he's really important to this group of 5 or 6 young people over there. And so we need him. And so, the influencer. So the algorithm helps us find the influencers. And with the suicide prevention, we're not looking for influencers so much, but we are thinking about a version of it for homeless youth, again, where we're doing some algorithm design. And the idea there is that we're trying to look for people that we might think of as gatekeepers, right? So people who we are thinking, if we could train the right young people, and this is something that we hope we would do with the military interventions as well. So instead of expecting people to come forward when they're in need, if you can help identify people within the community who are connected to other people, who can serve as your bridges into services, right? So it's like, if you can train people, because you can train people to look out for signs of suicidal thinking, depression, this sort of stuff.
Yeah, there are always cues and triggers if you are trained.
If you're trained to look for them. Exactly. And so what we're trying to do with the algorithms is have the algorithms tell us, based on this social network data that we can gather, who important people in the community are, so that then when we train people, we're not training, a bunch of folks who don't need the training, but rather we're reaching out to the right people and making and really kind of increasing the power of what is already good social work practice.
You sort of already answered the question. I was wondering, how do you hope that the research that you guys are doing vis-a-vis with Viterbi, that it develops into a treatment modality or preventive care? Because it sounds like I was hearing primary, secondary, tertiary prevention.
Sure.
And I think the goal is to stay in that primary before the bad thing, or well, at least secondary, because the bad thing has already sort of happened. And you want to be able to sort of tap who will go all the way over to the other side.
Right. So with the suicide prevention idea, I mean, what we really want to do is we want to create interventions that are going to put social workers in the spaces that they need to be before people try to commit suicide, right? And so the idea there is that the algorithm is going to help us figure out members of the community who we then want to make our advocates and allies, who will train for, we will train those folks. So in this case, it would be either homeless youth or it would be service members these are the things to look out for in your friends that would be signs that they're distressed.
Gotcha.
And then it's not that we're going to ask them to become social workers, but we would say, if you notice this in your friends, here are the social workers that you can connect them to. You should help these, because oftentimes people are, when they're feeling suicidal, they isolate, they withdraw, they don't put themselves forward to get the help that they desperately need. And so what we're thinking about is trying to bring the interventions to them, right? And so the idea is have their friends be that person who is on the lookout for signs of risk amongst their friends. And then if they see it, not to become a therapist, but to say, hey, look, it seems like you're having a hard time. There's help. There's some help available for you.
I just thought about something. Creating that kind of support line, particularly with the influencer, the people who are already sort of involved with them already, it's such a great thing because the trust and the empathy is already there.
Exactly.
And so if they say, hey, dude, I feel what you're going through, you know what? I tell you what, I can sense that there are some things happening, and I think, you're coded for what might be suicide. There are some social workers and some people who can help you. They're probably more likely to go because they trust the people your algorithm has already identified.
Exactly.
Oh, this is brilliant stuff.
No, and so what's so cool, and you nailed it. That is exactly the point, because for both folks who are in the military and also for homeless youth, there are services that are available to them, but for different reasons. These are both groups of people that are a bit mistrustful of the services, right? So for folks in the military, oftentimes they're afraid of having this distress be on their record, right? For homeless youth, they're afraid of adults who they've had bad experiences with, right? A lot of homeless youth have been abused. They feel like maybe they've been in the foster care system. And if they've then been in the foster care system and then ended up homeless, they've felt that systems of care are failing them.
The adult is the enemy.
The adult is the enemy, right? But instead, if your friend is the person who's then helping you make those connections, it leverages the trust that exists in the community, because ultimately, sad to say, I am, when I go in, even though I've been working with homeless youth for the last 15, 17 at this point years, I'm an outsider. I'm not a 20-year-old living on the streets, there's no matter how much I've been working in that community for a long time, I'm still always going to be an outsider. But if I can work with a small group of people that can be my allies to then be the voice for their community and to be the source of change for their community, it's great. And what's amazing also, and this has nothing to do with AI, but has everything to do with social work, is that when you use these algorithms to pick these people to be involved in these programs, first of all, they think it's kind of cool that a computer program thinks that they're special. They're like, oh, that's cool. But the other thing that's great is you get to see young people who maybe haven't had a lot of opportunities to be really engaged in their communities in really positive ways for a long time, having responsibility and a sense of
self-efficacy,
self-worth, and a self-efficacy. Exactly. Yep. Exactly right. So it's really exciting stuff.
Wow. You know what? I had no idea. I mean, we're doing so much at the School of Social Work, which is why this support is happening, right?
That's right.
Anything that you want to say to the people, because the work that you're doing, we want it to go on, and students need to be funded, and that's what this is about.
Oh, no, and the students need to be funded. And it's been so great for me is that students in the MSW program have been heavily involved in this work. So I've been doing work with, especially in the HIV prevention program that I've been doing, I've had MSW internships actually. For the last 3 years, I've had about now 6 MSW interns who've worked with me day in and day out to actually go and do this work out in the world. So I was just actually meeting with someone who's now works for me, but was an MSW intern of mine 3 years ago. And I was saying, we were joking about how she is the human face of the computer, because she's the one who has to go out and talk to the young people and say, oh, the algorithm picked you. And then they look at her like, did an algorithm really pick me, or did you pick me? And she's like, no, it's a computer program. It's not me. And so,
how cool are you?
Yeah. Right. So she's the human face of the algorithm.
I love it. And you are the human face of this incredible program that you're doing. And I am so very glad.
Thank you so much for having me.
Really,
likewise,
thanks for coming.